It's 10 o'clock. Good morning, everybody, TAC members and members of the public. Thank you for attending at this meeting. TAC members, of course, congratulations for your appointments and welcome on board. It will be a long process and we are happy we have you on board. This is an onboarding meeting and we invited all TAC members to attend, so it's not different technical advisory groups, but everybody, all TAC members are here. We are not looking for a quorum. There will be no votes or minutes, although the meeting will be recorded and you can go back to it and listen to the conversation. We want to share some information with you and answer your questions if you have questions or concerns. I will pass the microphone to Dustin. He'll be in charge for this meeting, but I will finish with, we have 4 codes in group 1, and we have 4 technical advisory groups. So Dustin will be responsible for the building and existing building code, the building and existing building code tag, and the fire code tag. And Krista will handle the energy code tag and the mechanical code tag. So Dustin, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry. So it sounds like the floor is mine and I was muted for a second. So hello, everybody. My name is Dustin Kerb. If we haven't met before, I've been with the State Building Code Council for going on 2 years now and have participated in the finalization of the 2021 code adoption and some other off-cycle rules. And I'm looking forward to the 2024 cycle and meeting everybody that I get to work with. And before we get rolling today, I kind of wanted to introduce everybody to the State Building Code Council staff. You got to meet with Stoyan first there. My name is Dustin, and I want to introduce you next to our code specialist, Krista Braxma, who will be doing the mechanical code and energy codes. And Krista, if you want to just pop on and say hi.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome aboard and look forward to working with those of you I've never worked with before. I'm Krista Braxma. I've been on the council for far too long now. I recognize a lot of the names coming forward, so I hope we have a good code cycle this season, whatever.
Awesome. Thank you, Krista. Next, I want to introduce one of our administrative assistants, Rosanna Ghani.
Good morning, everyone.
All righty. Lots of words. And then last but not least, Annette Hayworth. If you are here and available, I see you on the public. If you could just pop on and say hi, and then we'll move on from the introduction of staff.
Hello.
Awesome. So everybody in the tags, we are the State Building Code Council staff, and we are employed here at the Department of Enterprise Services, and we facilitate council rulemaking and following the rules that we have set in place for the rulemaking. So moving forward, we're going to get to the kind of tag onboarding stuff. We have several documents I want to share here today. I'm going to go over our tag makeup real quick. I'm going to change the share real quick. Choose that one. So first up in the group 1 tags, we have the mechanical ventilation and plumbing tag. We have the chair, Ben Omura, and an alternate chair, Justin Bourgeau. Are either of you two here in attendance at the moment?
I am here. This is Justin.
Justin, if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself real quick. I'm going to introduce the tag chairs, and then we'll move forward.
No problem. Yeah, I'm Justin Bourgeau. I'm with the Sheet Metal Workers Local 66. I represent the Washington State Building Trades.
Awesome. And Ben, are you here with us today? I do not see him on our attendees list, so we'll move forward from there. So Justin Burgo is our alternate, and in the event that Ben is not present at one of our meetings, Justin will occupy the chair position and will be the chair vote there. We're only allowed to have one council member voting in any one tag, and we have it set up so that we should have a chair or council member at any meeting should somebody else have a scheduling conflict. While we are here, you should see the mechanical ventilation plumbing tag seats that we have filled, and notice the yellow lines are labeled as vacant. So we have vacancies in all the tags except for the energy code at the moment. And so we're still having open recruiting for those. And if you know anybody who fits the description of the tag seat, it would be my ask that you maybe suggest to them to submit an application so that we can fill the seats and have a robust tag participation. So our next tag that we're going to go to is the IBC tag. This one has the most vacancies in it. And I would like to introduce the primary chair, Todd Bayreuther.
Hello, greetings, everyone. I've been on the council for 6 years now, representing manufacturing, suppliers, and installers. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. And Roger Hiringa, I see you here as well. Could you introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Roger. Excuse me, Roger Hiringa. I am with DCI Engineers. I represent the structural engineering community on the State Building Code Council.
Thank you, Roger. Like I said, the building code tag has the most vacancies. So if we can do some recruiting within our own circles to fill some of these positions, it would be great. We do have the message posted front and foremost on the Building Code Council homepage. And there's tag applications, current tag seats, and under construction currently is a tag page that we will utilize further as we go through the process here. So moving on from the IBC tag seats, we have the IFC tag seats. We have a vacant primary chair for this tag. We are waiting for the next council meeting to address that. We had a council member end their term, and we are just waiting to fill this seat. We have the alternate as Roger Hiringa. We heard from him as part of the building code tag as well. And so I won't have him reintroduce himself. And we will move on to the energy code commercial tag seats. Notice this one has no yellow lines in it. And I would like to let Chell Anderson introduce himself. And I'm not seeing Chell. Is Craig Holt here with us? I'm not seeing any of those, either of those chairs here today. This was called last week, and so they may have some scheduling conflicts. We will get everybody acquainted with them at the first tag meetings, and we will be not debating, but getting ready to schedule those first meetings based on the needs of what we got going for each one of these codes. So moving forward from the tag memberships, I want to go over the 2024 code adoption timeline. These documents are available on this meeting page, and they're also part of our 2024 rulemaking tab on the homepage. So primarily today, what I want to go over is the Group 1 and Washington State Energy Code commercial codes, and that's our primary task right now. We're in the process of developing the tag seats and membership for Group 2. And right now, we see we're in the April and May line on our schedule here, and the tags are in the process of developing our existing amendments and significant changes reports to deliver to the council at the May meeting. We are behind on the development of these reports, and we're looking to ask for tag membership to assist in developing these reports to be ready for the May meeting. If we don't meet the deadline for the May meeting, our agenda and timeline will have to be shifted to accommodate that. And right now we're already up against a wall with our timelines for completing everything in the most timely manner so that we can implement on the effective date of November 1st, 2026. And there's some overlap in group 1 and group 2 timelines. And does anybody have any questions on the timeline as presented or need more time on that?
Dustin, I would maybe just point out the targeted end date. Why
For the group 1 cycle, yes.
why it's important for us to be finished by, I believe it's the December of this year with at least the first part, the majority of our work.
Yeah, so is correct. We want to be done preparing our CR 102s by the end of this year, and we'll begin. That is the bulk of the work is with the CR 102s. Those are the documents we file that have the majority of our code changes in there, and that begins our public comment period. And if we can't get that going down, then we're working on creating the CR 102s and finalizing those documents while we're trying to begin the work on the group 2 codes. And we will be overburdened with the work at that point if we can't get to the finish line here for group 1 November, December timeline.
If I can add, Justin, if I can add to this, last code cycle, we were struggling with this overlapping, and we were trying to avoid this overlapping, but as you can see, because of many reasons, we still have 3.5-4 months almost. And if we fail with this, as Dustin is talking about, complete the CR 102 by the end of December, then we'll have more overlapping and it will get more difficult for the SBCC staff to complete the documents and file with the code revisor's office.
Yes, thank you, Stein. Does anybody have any questions on the timeline beyond that?
Dustin, this is Todd. If I may, just thank you everyone on the building code tag. I'll point out that that is one that is split between both group 1 and group 2. So we have kind of continuity between both timelines.
That's true. And I believe it's the structural portion is in one group, and the kind of architectural sections are in the other group.
No, for this code cycle, we have the entire code in one group. So it's a group 1. And sorry to disagree with you guys.
No, I'm sorry, Stoyan. As soon as you said that, I remembered that. So scratch that.
The building code is the one we need help with because I was the one working on it, but what I did, I got to chapter 4 and I got stuck in it. So, and it appears that the building code has the most
model code changes.
Model code amendments. So
okay, like I said, we have a lot of work to do in group 1.
Yes.
All right, moving forward, I've got a couple more tabs here open to share. We have a group 1 timeline. This document kind of outlines what we are trying to get done and some of our operation processes for the tags. So before we dive into that one, I want to get into the new bill that passed and becomes effective. There's a lot in this bill, but I'm going to focus in on section 7, which has to do specifically with the tags. This is all new language for our RCW 19.27. And the main things that are going to be changing here, as I view it, is that with the tag membership comes the obligation to participate. And if we start having folks who cannot attend meetings either due to work or what other conflicts, if you miss more than 3 meetings, 3 consecutive absences in section D here of a technical advisory group member will render that member's position a ex officio status. The idea behind that is that if we don't have solid attendance, that we won't have quorum. And so if we're continuing to have that issue, we will designate a position as ex officio to maintain quorum and keep the work moving. And then the other one that I thought was a relevant one is a petition for an amendment referred to the technical advisory group must be approved by the majority of the technical advisory group and voting members to be taken up for consideration by the State Building Code Council. So as we're reviewing proposals and getting ready to promote this proposition to the committees and then to the council, we need a majority. And if we're not all in consensus, we have to do some extra reports to show, you know, the minority reports for how the split was within the tag. And going back to,
Dustin,
yes, sir.
I have a comment on the 3 consecutive meetings. All I ask is make sure that the individuals that
Anytime you have to go, anyone that needs to go is wrong.
Can you
make
please
sure that
mute your microphones?
make sure that the individuals that aren't showing up for the meetings are on the invite list. I think when I first got on to the IFC tag, there was some like miscommunication and nobody was sending me the invites. After that, I mean, Ken helped me or helped get me make sure I was on the invites. So I just want to make sure we're doing our due diligence. If those individuals aren't showing up, making sure that they're on the invite list as well, right?
That is a good point. You know, as if there's possibility for people to change and shift a little bit, we want to make sure that we're keeping the most up-to-date contact list. That's going to be a staff responsibility to make sure that the communications are going out for notifications of these meetings to everybody. And then it would be also, if we're talking about the possibility of changing a position to ex officio, that we have a record of attendance as well. So, you know, we're going to have an ongoing attendance record, and you know, we'll make sure that we have everybody on the invite list that we're keeping up with the most up-to-date tag membership documents. I have a Sandy Jeter. Yeah,
actually, it's Hoyt Jeter. I'm actually down at the ICC code hearings. And so I just logged on. I apologize for being late. I don't know if you took roll, but that's my better half, Sandy Jeter, but this is actually Hoyt Jeter.
Okay, awesome. Hoyt, thank you for joining us today. We're not looking for any sort of quorum or anything like that, but thanks for letting us know you're here. I have a hand raised by Chell, one of our chairs for the Energy Code. Chell, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Chell Anderson. On the Washington State Building Code Council representing architects, and I'm the tag chair for the Commercial Energy Code. And I do have a question, which is, you know, this, my understanding or my guess is this is written for the primary, that if the primary misses 3, the alternate is there in the event that the primary is absent. So
Yes.
my guess and my hope would be the primary, if they start missing a bunch, then the council has the ability to designate them the ex officio, but the alternate would not need to show up at every meeting necessarily. But I always encourage the alternate and the primary to coordinate ahead of every meeting and make sure at least one of them will show up, because we want everybody, every viewpoint represented.
I would say that sounds like an excellent idea. Brett Conway or Mackenzie.
Yes, Brett Conway, thank you. On this overall schedule, could you refresh us on, you focused in on activities in 24, but didn't mention activities for the tags beyond the end of 24. And so are there activities for the tags after?
So the tag will serve as the tag for the entire triennial code adoption cycle. So for the bulk of the work for, let's say, the building code tag will occur in 2024. There's some more work in the first half of 2025 for finalizing that and presenting that to the code council. But should, in the course of the rest of this triennial adoption cycle, other things become relevant for the tag to discuss, there may be meetings called for tags that are outside of the code adoption cycle workload. For like, let's say, for example, last year we had work on the adoption of family home childcare provision alterations. And so we brought in the building code, the fire code, and the residential tags to talk about those. And there was not part of the normal adoption cycle. So there is activity, not this schedule that you see here is more for the code adoption cycle for the 2024, but there is possibility for other interactions outside of the normal code cycle rulemaking activities.
And
Thank you.
for the building code tag, we have some statutory mandates that will need some extra work, and we may have more because the legislative session is a long session next year from January to almost April, so we may have more mandates. So there will be work in 2025.
And do we have the statutory mandates on this?
Yes, we have it on this colorful calendar. If there are folks that have issues with the colors, let us know and we can
accommodate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so up here, these top 3 lines, or 4 lines, or 5 lines, I should say, contain our statutory mandate stuff. We're trying to incorporate that into the 2024 main body of the IBC review, but you'll notice that multiplex housing spans into mid-2025 as well. So this depiction here kind of shows more at a glance what we're doing and kind of where it falls on the triennial cycle, and this is more of a descriptive presentation of what we're doing in those kind of time periods. Next, I've got Roger Heringa.
Yeah, I just wanted to expand a little bit on what Chell said, and I was wanting to mention this anyway. For those positions where there is a primary and an alternate position, I think that the intent is that both people are participating on a regular basis, and at both meetings, only one of them would be able to vote, and the primary would be the first and the alternate would be the second. But our hope is that both the alternate and the primary are contributing to the discussion that we are having about particular code items.
Roger and Chell, I think I talked with Chell a little bit about this. So it's a language in the law. We don't have it in the bylaws. We can add a sentence or two in the bylaws to clarify how it will work with the primary and the alternate. And also when we start having the technical advisory group meetings for each code, then the technical advisory groups can establish their own rules, how the chair will run the meeting. So yeah, we can discuss that.
I just wanted to clarify that. For instance, on the building code tag, we have 2 architectural folks. We want both of them to participate in the discussions, and we want to rely on their expertise. Only one of them can vote when we actually come down to the voting process. So,
and I'd like to follow up on that. Not only are members of the tag allowed to attend and participate these meetings, but members of the public are allowed to attend and participate, and just the tag members are allowed to vote. And then if there's a primary and alternate position, the primary is the only voting member, and in the event of their absence, the alternate has the right to vote as well. Anything else on that one, Roger? Okay, awesome. Next, I have Larry Andrews. And you're muted. There you go.
Okay. Yeah. Can we get this sent to us so we have this? We can put this in our book so we know where we're heading and if we're keeping track. I mean, this is a great chart she got here, and it'd be nice to have that sent to the tag members.
Yes, we can definitely do that as a part of getting ready for our first meetings for doing the work. We can send out the documents that we have posted on this meeting page. If you wanted it right now, that's the place to get it, is at the meeting page on this one. But we can make it a priority to send these documents to everybody and also make them available on our tag page so that, everybody has access to them. If you are a new member, they should be able to be accessed as well. Kevin Dwell.
Yeah, thank you. I was curious, how do I get the contact information for my primary member?
We can get you that.
Cool, thank you.
And I don't know if it's part of the plan, but I would like to make sure that the tag has the contact information of the entire tag. We're planning to post the tag membership on the tag page, but we're not intending to put like phone numbers or emails on that page. So we're putting membership and representation on the tag page. And then so we'll be working on a contact list to send out to everybody as well.
Are you putting the emails and stuff like that? Or
No,
not?
we don't want to overburden you guys with public contacts by putting your emails on the state building code page.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Anybody else have anything until we move on? All right. Seeing no hands, we will move on a little bit. We are going to move into our onboarding documents. I don't have a whole lot more in this presentation. We have this document here, which is posted on our meeting page today. We'll be sending it out to everybody as well. I don't think we've sent this out yet. Rosanna or Annette, we haven't sent these out. Okay. This is what we would consider required reading for tag membership. If you can go over this and be familiar with these documents and rules and guidelines, it will make the process of developing the code and getting it filed appropriately and while following all the rules that much easier. So one of the things I wanted to point out is one of staff's primary duties is to make sure that we're following all of the rules and regulations for code development in the state of Washington. And so, you know, if everybody's aware of what they are, at least on the base level, we can avoid a lot of confusion down the line.
And also lawsuits. That's important.
And lawsuits as well. Those are the most confusion. So on this one, you know, is the council bylaws are important. We have section 7 that deals with the tag membership and procedures. We have WAC 5104, which talks about kind of general policies and procedures for the council. We have some public testimony guidelines that we're, you know, following to allow public to have input on our rulemaking. We have some training that within 3 months tag membership is supposed to get taken care of, which is the ethics and public service. We don't quite have that one worked out all the way just yet, but you can expect probably within the next week some information about how you complete that ethics training to come down. And we have the Open Government Resource Manual. This just gives you guidelines on how to, you know, be transparent to the public. And then the Administrative Procedures Act kind of is the law on how that happens. We have our Public Records Act, which deals with how we store our records. The Open Public Meetings Act talks about how we run our meetings, and Regulatory Fairness Act talks about how the cost of what we do impacts the public. We have accessibility, and then we have the state building code and energy code. And then the last 3 are their websites on where we do the filing for the rules that we make. So the state register is where the code is published legally, and where somebody, if they were looking to find older code that was effective in Washington, they can find actual text navigating this site. It's a little bit of a deep dive, so I'm not going to get into how to go back to, like, say, the 1987 code and find the text there. But should we need to do it, it is possible. It's just we got to go beat the bushes on that one. The code reviser, they're within the state register, or they provide the service. So when we file our documents that say we've made a change in our rules. It goes to the code revisor, they make the file, and then it's published in the state register. And the order of typing services, it is hoped that we won't have to necessarily prepare OTS documents this code cycle, but that is still kind of up in the air. And the order of typing services, as we make changes in our code that's to be published in the register, they want it typed in a certain way. And this order of typing services is a entity that will take our documents and type them in the correct way and give them back to us, and then we're ready to file them without a lot of delay.
We have an agreement with the code revisor, and we have an example how the changes to the WAC will happen, and we'll share this information at the council meeting next Friday. And about the onboarding checklist that you saw right now, in the first half, you see some weird numbering, and it's due to the fact that originally this list was developed for the council members, and we eliminated the documents and materials that weren't needed for the technical advisory groups, but we will fix the numbering before we send it out to you.
Yes. And we have some additional resources. Most of these are informational. One of the things that
someone has their hand up.
Oh, sorry. Quinn, please.
I wouldn't have minded waiting because you might be talking about it pretty soon. But one of the things I wanted to bring up was, are you guys going to be providing the 2024 model code for us to look at? And if you are you guys going to provide that before we start our meetings? Because in past tag meetings, onboarding, that was a holdup several times, was that we were all waiting for a copy of the I-codes, and then we couldn't really do any work until we actually had our hands on it. I mean, some people have a copy of the 2024, and then some don't, so it's just more of a general question for onboarding.
Yeah, and excuse me for interjecting, Steve Belzak here, but I had the same issue. We don't have a 2024 code available yet. And I know we're in a rush to get into this, so I'm wondering how that could be managed. Thank you.
We are not providing codes for everybody. We have 60 or more technical advisory group members. We don't have the funding to provide codes for everybody. We were referring to the ICC website where you can access the 2024 codes. And when we get deeply into the work, if TAC members need specific chapters of the codes, we can provide that.
So, and to follow further on that one, so we do have working documents on the codes to make our amendments into. So I'm going to change my share a little bit. I have an excerpt of some of the work that we have worked on now, and let's see, I want that one. So you should be seeing the agenda, and then this right here is a Word document provided to us by the International Code Council. It's a copyrighted work, and we have some limitations on the way we are allowed to share this document. We can work with the sections that we have amendments to share out to. And it would be my hope that we have these broken down into chapter size documents so that we can give out those specific ones. And we're still strategizing exactly how to make all of these available within the scope of our contract with ICC and not be violating that. So I would like to assure everybody that if you're working on a specific section, you'll have at least the model code text and some framework report stuff, at least for our existing amendment report and the significant changes report. We have a framework document for us to insert the information into, and we have documents that we can get out to everybody to look at model code text. But as far as having a dedicated PDF or book delivered out to everybody, like Stoyan mentioned, we don't have the funding to be able to provide those documents to everybody. Todd.
Will that apply to the energy code also?
I believe so, but we don't have that available. Is that correct, Krista? We don't have that document yet?
Right, it hasn't been published yet. It probably will not be available for at least a month. And what TAG members will get is the integrated draft version of the Washington State Energy Code, which is considerably different than the model code anyway. So that's a slightly different issue. So you will have a document, but it will not be a model code.
All righty. Next, I got Lisa Rosenau.
Yeah, thank you. This is Lisa Rosenau with Evergreen. Same question to Krista. So what we will be receiving is essentially the mashup. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, and
Okay.
Once it's available, the International Energy Conservation Code will also be on the ICC website, but since they just settled their appeals and are still integrating some of the changes coming from that, they're anticipating late May for their publication date.
Got it.
That's
All right.
why the commercial energy code is off cycle a little bit with the other group 1 codes, and eventually even matches up with the group 2 codes.
I see. Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Hey, Hoyt Jeter.
Yeah, I just also want to mention that if people aren't aware of it, that are on this line, a lot of the codes you can go online and actually read too on the national code levels. So ICC does have that open for anyone that's not aware of that. I could be over speaking. Maybe all of you are aware of that, but I just thought I'd just bring that up. There's always a method to be able to look at what the code is by going online. So.
Thank you, Hoyt. Do we have any other questions at the moment? Mike Nykram.
Yeah, thanks for letting me on here. I'm one of the builder representatives of this. A few things. First of all, is there a reason why the comments section's not open on the Zoom meeting so that maybe to go along a little bit quicker, we can just make a Zoom comments? And then I'm wondering when the proposed amendments are going to be posted. And then also if you could send some links. Seattle, I primarily build in Seattle. Seattle's got some great through their resource tabs on where to access some of these codes. So that's my comment.
Okay, so as far as the comments on our Zoom meetings, it's a decision by the council staff as far as one for the transparency to the public. If we have comments,
she always does, doesn't she?
Hoyt, would you mind muting?
Do you want me?
Thank you. So we're looking at the transparency of our meetings. If we have the comment section open, we don't have that available for the record, or if we do, we have to produce another document to post with the meetings. And then another issue, I know it works good for smaller meetings to share documents and quick comments and not interrupt the flow, but it does get a little bit out of hand sometimes on the comment section, and we can get sidetracked on tangents in the comments. And so we're trying to make sure that we're not speaking over one another while we're meeting, so that everybody's focused on the information that's being shared and given out there. And as far as the proposed amendments, we have the existing amendments, but we don't have any proposed amendments yet. The proposal period isn't open yet. So after the May meeting, we're anticipating the proposal period will open. And at that point, as we get them, we'll be making those available to everybody. Is that it for questions at the moment? All right. So with everything else, I don't have more to show you guys at the moment. I would make an ask that everybody make an attempt to read not necessarily every word, but to be familiar with these resources in the onboarding documents that I have on this page right here. And if you have questions on any of the requirements contained in some of these documents, please reach out to the chair or any council staff, and we'll be happy to work with you on making sure that we are all in the same page as far as understanding goes for our rules and procedures. And with that, I don't have anything else for this meeting. Roger.
Yeah, maybe you mentioned this, Dustin, but do you have any idea of like when will the tags meet?
Yes.
Conversation.
I skipped that one. I'm glad you brought it up, Roger, because I did want to talk about that. So we are going to be developing a meeting schedule for the tags. The staff responsible for each tag will be getting together with the chairs of those tags to set up for the first meeting, and then it would be the intent at the first tag meetings to have everybody participate in the setting of a meeting schedule and deadlines for completing projects within that scheduling. Right now, I think that the mechanical ventilation and plumbing tag is not going to be meeting until around May. Is that a accurate assumption, Krista?
That was my plan, yes.
Okay, awesome. And then the commercial energy code won't be meeting at least until we have the code published and out. So that one's forthcoming and kind of up in the air. For the fire and building codes, I wanted to get a meeting in here hopefully next week to talk about setting a meeting to get some extra work done on these reports for the May council meeting. And so if it's amenable to the chairs, I was hoping we could maybe set something for Tuesday next week to get together and talk about that. But I will hold off. And Hoyt, you have a comment?
Yeah, sorry, I just had to unmute myself. The reason I was hoping we're actually down here at the ICC hearings, and I actually don't fly back till Tuesday. So if it could be at near the end of the week, that would be much better for me, based on my schedule. We're talking about the code changes that are going. We're testifying for changes and things like that. That would help a lot more. So hopefully we could do that till later on in the week rather than early in the week.
So just to touch on that, we have a council meeting next Friday. So that day is definitely out. And I'm not going to be available on the Wednesday. So the option could be Thursday.
Thursday works great for me.
No, hold on. Let's take a step back.
Well, I was going to talk to everybody else before we just set this.
Yeah, so I have my hands raised. I'm with Hoyt right now at Orlando, and we both fly back on Tuesday, but we also have a wobble meeting Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So hopefully the week after works best.
Let me touch on this a little bit. So the reason Dustin wants the meeting next week is to ask the technical advisory group members for a little help on the existing amendments report and the significant changes report. For example, Ken Brulette submitted his work on Dustin, was it the significant changes? So
it was both. He gave me a report that contains information on significant and existing amendments.
It's a huge help for staff if we have a technical advisory group members that can take a chapter, 2, or even more and help us with the significant changes and the existing amendments. Because again, the building code has too many new modifications to the model codes, and we're getting a little stuck with it. So Hoyt and Ken, if you can't attend, it's all right. We can talk with you individually, and
Stoyan, looking at that list, I believe there's going to be 4, maybe 5 of us that are on the tag that are going to be missing, right? Todd Blevins, he's on here. He's going to be, well, he's on the energy code. Leah, she's going to be at the wobble meeting as well. So there's going to be a significant enough people going to be missing. And we're all willing to help out. It's just that the timing for next week is just not conducive.
I hear. maybe we could hold off on getting ready for that first meeting next week, and let me communicate with the chairs of the tags and see what works for them, and then I'll put out a feeler for everybody on the tags so that we can get good participation, and maybe instead of a meeting next week, we can maybe divvy out some chapters to everybody via email and not necessarily have a full-on meeting next week. But the time allowance is kind of critical at the moment for finishing by the May meeting to get all these reports done and have some meetings for the tags to vet these and say we're ready to give these reports to the council as well. Mike Rum.
Yeah, so in all due respect to everybody that's on this forum, and of course I appreciate, I've worked in a tag in the past. Those of us that, we're volunteering our time to be here. I'd really like to help promote the efficiencies of how this organization's working. Point of order, I will be requesting that we have comments while we communicate. That's number one. I'd like to know how to proceed that. On the if this is following the public meetings process, what is it where there's a quorum? Are there going to be any limitations to some of us being able to talk amongst ourselves as we preview some of the proposed and existing amendments? How are those points could be handled?
So we would have to, if you're communicating outside of the meetings, to avoid quorum issues, you would just have to keep the communication to groups smaller than the quorum number. The quorum is the majority of the tag there. So if we've got 15 members on the tag, 8 people in a messaging group.
And
Well,
then
it would have to be 7 people.
Or 7, sorry.
Yeah, and then can we have people amongst this organization? Could you organize this by our industries? For instance, I'd like to know all the builders that are involved in this. So frankly, I'm going to want to make some connections with them.
Maybe I'm not understanding the request. So within the tag, you want the organization, or you're looking for the builder contacts of other tags?
Yeah, those are the members that are builders as opposed from other industries.
I don't see why we couldn't do that. So on the website, the tag members will be listed by their representation, and it is the intent of the staff here to make sure that the tags can communicate with each other. Okay, Ken Brulette.
Thanks, Dustin. Hi, Mike. Hi, fellow tag member for the Fire Code. Nice to meet you. Just wondering, Dustin, I know Storian mentioned the document I produced. Are we able to just go ahead and share that with our tag members in like the Fire Code tag, so we can kind of get ahead of it? Everybody can start looking at it. And then 2, with regards to the Public Meetings Act, I believe it also means that we can't email all of us as a group also together. Is that correct? I can't really remember.
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay. So then I don't know how you're going to do it then, if send out email documents ahead of time, unless you could provide me the email addresses or give everybody the email addresses, and we can just do one at a time or something to that effect.
You need to go through staff. If you just send it to staff, we can disseminate it to all the members.
Then if you could please disseminate the work that I already provided, and if Dustin, you've already tweaked it anymore, great. But I really think that we can't wait for meetings 2 weeks from now. And if we can still have meetings without quorums. That's not a problem. And we've done that in the past, and we can help put together assignments, and we can review any documents that we have. We're not going to be voting on anything, but we just really kind of need to get together and start working together and understanding people's perspectives and backgrounds and just getting to know each other. But we got this hard deadline in May, and we're not going to make it. I mean, honestly, we are not going to make it already. And I'm hoping that the council members understand that right now, that we're not going to make that May meeting. It's just virtually impossible with the amount of code changes that have happened between the 21 and 24, the significant changes. So that's all I had. Thanks.
Thank you, Ken. Roger?
Yeah, I wanted to address a few things. I've been a council member for 2 years now, and so in no way, shape, or form am I an expert on the open meeting forum. But my understanding from our experience on the council is if you need to disseminate information, it should go through staff, and then it would be presented to the public at some point, whether it's at the next meeting or published on the website or something. So and I also was going to comment on Ken. I completely agree. We need to get moving as fast as we can and get started. And both Ken and I in our meetings have been pushing to let's get this going. So we know we need to do it. I did want to reiterate on the emails. You can email or call individuals or a couple people if you have questions or comments or want to talk about something. Just make sure that email is 7 people or less, and and then we bring the conversations up for the full meeting. Those meetings are public, so we are open to anybody's comments at those public meetings. So anyway, just a little bit of a clarification. I think Justin and Ken kind of or Krista kind of said the same things. So.
Yes, we definitely want to get moving fast, and so I'll reach out to the chairs and we'll make a decision on the meeting for next week, even if we won't have quorum, just to, like Ken mentions, get the work moving. I've got D. Johnlin.
Yeah, could you just go over the rules that we have to follow in the tags for how much advance notice has to be made for any kind of a public meeting?
Ooh, right off the top of my head, I don't have that one in my memory banks. Let's see.
Dwayne, can you clarify your question a little bit?
He wants to know how long, what's the minimum that we have to show the next meeting. So we want to, I guess, what's the Open Public Meeting Act's requirement for
24 hours. 24 hours. However, we've been trying to do it a few days in advance. We can't do it a week in advance because most likely we will, when we get busy, we will have meetings every week. So 24 hours is under Open Public Meetings Act. We will do our best to make it a little further.
And for posting materials, because this has been a complaint before that some industry is saying, hey, you just put this up last night at 10:30 and we haven't had time to look at this.
We need to touch on this when we start with the technical advisory groups for each technical advisory group, because yes, the problem, and I'll share my experience with this. And so we have a group of stakeholders that are submitting these documents 5 minutes before 12, and then these documents are introduced, and then the same group is complaining when another group is doing the same thing. So we need some common understanding and common respect on that. And then you're right, submitting documents at the night before the meeting is not all right. There was something in the SBCC bill that Dustin shared on the screen. It was, I think, 72 hours for the council, and it was a recommendation for the technical advisory groups. We need to research that, but our intent has always been to post and share materials as early as we can. So 48 hours at least, I would say, but again, we need to discuss this again when we start with particular technical advisory groups.
Thank you.
And I'd say we're trying to also set a schedule for the meetings so that we can anticipate when they're going to be. But we're trying to also be respectful of, as we prepare documents, to have them posted in a time frame that allows people to review them and be able to speak on them without asking a whole ton of questions on orientation during our meetings. Does that answer the question for you? Forgive me, D. Johnlin, what's your first name?
I'm Dwayne. And
Dwayne,
yes,
I
that's
thought it
fine.
might be, I didn't want to make a guess. But Dwayne, I hope that answers the question, and, I hope we can, and meet the, concern there and make sure it's not a issue.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have a good time.
Yes. Marcus Verta.
Yeah, thanks. Just trying to get started quickly here. I'm wondering if there's an expectation on when you'd like us to return this onboarding training checklist with signatures. As you mentioned, there were a couple items that were still being fleshed out there.
We have the ethics training that's required by the RCW to be done within 3 months. I would ask that return that within that 3-month time frame.
All right, thanks.
All right, Hoyt Jeter.
Yeah, I just wanted to emphasize, and Stoyan is correct. I mean, the state building code staff has always been very good at getting information out to people in as timely manner as they possibly can. So people that are new on this committee or new with this is they for how long I've been doing this with the code and my involvements with the state stuff, they've never had a problem getting information to people. But you also got to remember they have timeframes too that they have to be able to get their stuff done too. So, I just wanted to emphasize that they've always been very good. So,
Thank you, Hoyt. Roger.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment and also address the challenge that comes when somebody submits something at 11 o'clock at night for a meeting the next day. That as the person, at least temporarily, who will be running the fire code tag meetings, hopefully the chair has a little bit of leeway. If it is information that it is relative, we would at least talk about it. However, in my mind, when I run the meetings, if it's something that we're going to vote on that meeting and it comes in last minute, I would question whether that could be used because of the open meeting issue. So the chair of the tag committees does have a responsibility to try to manage that a little bit. Not really wanting to slow the process down because we've got to go quick if it's relevant information, but at the same time respecting the open meeting and making sure everybody has the information that they can digest and understand. So it is our responsibility to try to do that, and it'll be a challenge, and we'll have to look at a situation by situation basis. So.
All right. Does anybody have anything else that they would like to add?
I found the section that I wasn't prepared to talk about. So it's a new requirement in RCW 1927. It will be effective on June 6th. This is so-called the SBCC bill that was passed during this session. So I will read it. Or
what section is it?
This is on page 9, section 6.5.
6.5.
So the council is required to develop a process for council meetings that allow members of the public to understand the amendments. And see, the time frame here is at least 48 hours prior to the meeting. So this is for the council meetings, but and then actually, sorry, 7 days prior to a vote. So this is for the council meetings, but the last sentence, pay attention to the last sentence where it has 48 hours. And I was going to propose for the council to make changes to the bylaws that will require this 48 hours time frame prior to the meeting for all materials to be shared on the website and with the TAC members and the public.
my experience on that is it's usually met. I mean, it's rare in a case that they haven't done it in the past. So, and Stoyan's group has been very good and reaching out if he needs help or anything like that on certain things. So, that's just letting people know that's been my experience.
Alrighty. So 48 hours, we're gonna try to have all documents out there for you guys to digest for 2 days. Does anybody else have any questions or comments they'd like to add to the good of the order? Seeing no hands, I would like to thank all of the council members, all of the new tag members, all of the existing tag members that are rejoining us for the work that you do for the State Building Code Council and the state of Washington. It's a benefit to everybody in the state to be able to work with people such as you guys, and I'm looking forward to it. I also want to point out that it is Building Safety Month. And I want to thank all the same individuals for, being good code stewards and making things safe for people in the world and not just Washington. So with that one, I'm going to call this meeting adjourned. Thank you,
Everybody
everybody.
have a real good rest of the day.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Oh, Walker, did you have a question?
Nope, just clapping. Thank you
Okay,
very
sorry.
much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Dustin.